A world full of stories, the future's changing. Reach out your hand and grasp your own fate. These are my complete records of the Göttershexe. May they prove helpful to whomever may find them in the future. I've written down all my life in the hope that it can change the outcome that was set in stone. I do not know what this will entail for the world, or if it will ever achieve anything. But please, at least, listen to this long story of someone who has lost this game. 10 abnormal students and 1 not so abnormal teacher. After our entrance ceremony had finished, was the time to choose the teacher we would like to have as a homeroom teacher for the next 4 years. All of our 10 teachers had some faculty they specialized in. History, tamer, politics, explorer, archaeologist, craftsmanship, police, magical scripts, spellcraft, and being tied to a chair unable to move to prevent further chaos. An easy choice for some, others waned between similar yet not identical choices. Yet others seemed to simply choose at random. In the end it somewhat evened out between the 9 teachers, and then there were a few like us, who now were standing before the hostage situation that was our teacher, whose only ability to communicate left was to move his head. He may certainly had made a great impression on everyone present, yet when it came to actually choosing him as a teacher, only few considered, and yet fewer chose him. Exactly 10 were now standing here, not knowing how to go on, as the one person that was meant to lead the way was unable to do so. So, are we supposed to free him? Oh, let him struggle. Let's see if he can get out of this alone. With what he did just now, that shouldn't be so hard. That's way too cruel. They also would hardly do this and just let him keep the tools necessary to escape. Is it even legal to tie someone up like this? Is arson legal? 10, Not like you could expect more after his speech and display. Anyone valuing their life would stay far away. The director had approached our group silently, choking those that had her voice suddenly in their necks. Hair? Maybe it was more appropriate to call it talking down on them, in a literal sense. How ginormous! And who are you supposed to be? It is quite rude to address the director of the school you are attending with nothing more than, how ginormous. What? No way, you looked way different from back there. Far younger. Brother, we only saw from the furthest back possible. Obviously we would miss details. Yes, exactly. You can't just see people once and know everything about them. Listen here, you little shits. Who do you think you're right now talking to? Brother's going violent. He's going violent. Almost instinctively did he bow down once he heard that this was the director of the school. Meanwhile did the director wait for them to finally make way, which only happened in the end because they were pulled away by some of the others. Don't you fucking get it? Move it! The director was polite enough to wait it out, but you are clearly in her way. I appreciate the idea, but you should learn to manage your language, young man, for your own well-being, particularly when attending a school like this. So then, Professor Turnev, do you promise to do no more than the basic class introduction, or do we have to find someone else for that? Unable to move or speak, Turnev did all he could, and gave some unconvincing nodding. The director sighed, rubbed her eyes, and then decided to let him free anyways, which prompted him to do an almost theatrical stand-up, rising to full height, overshadowing even the already large director, raising his hands and beginning to speak in an exaggerated tone. I have been freed! Now thou shalt bring me my companion, or I shan't move no further than the spot. Professor Turnev, would you at least act normally for the first day to make this not even harder than it is for the beginners? I shall not repeat myself. Without Saladala, I shan't move even but 1 inch. A long, annoyed and tired sigh came out of the director, before she reached into her pocket, pulling out what could only be Saladala, the salamander from Professor Turnev that he had used to burn the theater during the entrance ceremony, who immediately snatched Saladala out of her hand, inspecting him for any harm. Only once he was sure about his well-being did he return him to his pocket, before even starting to bat an eye for his students to be. When he did so, he straightened his posture, fixed his clothes, and began to speak, with a voice that pierced all the way to one's soul. And with this everyone turned quiet, a feature one might say to be extremely useful for a teacher's voice. So ye are the one that deem your own being as just a tool to be experimented with reaching the true reality of magic. Suddenly and without reason did he bow down his head, to reveal the fist of the director being where his head once was, revealing the reason for the sudden bow. You are already walking on a tight line here with what you did. Only your incredible success rate with graduating students keeps you away from prison, so cut that out. It is even hard to say if that speaks for your talent or simply of the talent of the people you attract. Even after 12 years, do I still try to get them to put you back where you belong. And also stop this antiquated speech. It is irrelevant where you were born or when you were born. You know how to speak properly, so do that. Thou shalt not put such restriction on myself. The manner of speech is the show of character, and thus shalt one prove one's existence through it. It was obvious that this was not the first, or second, or even third time they had this exact discussion, so instead of opposing Professor Turnev, did the director turn towards the class and spoke directly to them. If this buffoon of a man is in any way acting unbearable or does things that seem questionable, please immediately report him to any of the staff. He is a convicted criminal and only on probation out as long as he works as a teacher. But do not be afraid because of that. He didn't do or intends to harm any other humans. His problems lie elsewhere. These words caused quite the tumult. A chaos of intrigue and fright, questions being asked unavoidably. How could a criminal ever be allowed to teach? What in the world could someone do that is not harmful yet being treated like this?
Are we safe? He won't do anything to us, right? Will we start to look like him?
He has to be a fucking amazing teacher if they still let him walk free despite being a criminal. Could we even do something if he ever intends to harm us? Quiet. As said, within 12 years he has not once acted too problematic. You are not only safe, but even if he intends to do anything, would that not last long? He's obviously surveyed at all times, but you still need to tell us if he mentions or plans anything criminal.
And they mentioned in the opening ceremony that he was not allowed to act as a teacher last year. That would mean within 12 years he had best twice a whole teacher. And one of those times he broke the rules, with the other time being where he probably was so strongly surveyed that he couldn't do anything even if he tried to. Then he took 1 year under high surveillance again, and now they think that we are safe. Again, it's spinning things, and which they again find still problematic. Might not die. We might have something worse waiting us. I should never fall at my like stupid ironic here. And that's a horrible situation. I know, God, just not for the rest of my life.
The girl who I saw before the entrance ceremony, tucked away in a corner, that had found her way into this group despite looking way out of place with how everyone else was such a strong character, was starting to sink into herself, producing a hyperventilating puddle of misery on the ground. Something Professor Chernoff looked at in interest instead of acting like a teacher and helping. The brash boy was the first to react to the scene in an expectable, rough tone. Shell, would you? What have they put in your food today? Please calm down. Nothing will happen, and what he did 6 years ago is nothing that puts students in harm's way. If you still wish to, we can send you to any of the other teachers. Turnev is to begin with a special case, and we never expected his class to be all that full.
No, I can do this. They always tell me, just run away after the sciences. I can do this. Everyone else can do. So it's right. So I need to do this just like everyone else. I'm not strange. I'm just normal. I can do this.
She sank further into herself, into a demonic chant that sucked out all the positive and good out of the air. It was a surprising thing to everyone here that in this situation the one to speak up was Professor Trönev, who simply stayed silent when they discussed him and just observed up until now. It is not mine to know of what circumstances thou come, or to understand what thou art suffering, but myself can ensure thou one truth. No person choosing to be taught by mine is to be called a normal person. It is of the utmost importance for magicians to never fall to the uniformity of normality, and thus not have the ability to interact with magical beings. It is clear to myself that ye here gathered are not simply made of what one would call normal. Two siblings, or may it be just distant family members, unknown and knowing such, yet striving into danger while knowing to them an act one could only call insanity. And the one who will always stay behind, overlooking from the shadows, thinking of himself as only guidance, yet not realizing that he was walking his own story. A man standing tall and proclaiming his will with force, unshaken and undeterred by who faces him. And such they have no choice but to accept his will as an absolute and true. A knight fighting for justice, not willing to let even a single bystander to wither, and so will seek out hell, yet unwavered, toppled even the rulers of the abyss, a feat no less person could do. A jester hiding behind a mask, hiding what he has seen inside the world's core itself, through with choosing a path not present and unwalked. An overseer not acting but never facing away, knowing to never be known, and still determined to make the choice to be known throughout all the land. A guardian only seeking out to prevent harm to others, forgetting the importance of walking the path meant for her. A fool thinking of not what she can achieve, but only of what she can't reach, when her power surpasses that of everyone around her, or perhaps because of that reason she became that way. And for a brief moment did Professor Trönev hesitate, as if he was unsure what to say to the last person he had not yet described in his cryptic ways, before continuing his speech. A god not knowing of her own domain, walking in blissful ignorance to her own existence. While some were easy to figure out who they belonged to, I couldn't figure out who he meant with all. And we also were not given the chance to ask when he stood up and started to leave the theater. Of you which have chosen to learn the truth behind magic, it is wished by mine for ye to follow me. But ye who are incapable of bearing the weight of reality, it is advised to turn now away from a path that seeks to demise you who art not of true intentions. With that he continued to leave, not caring for if we would follow him and not waiting for us to make a decision. For the brash boy was this no hard choice, so without hesitation he followed. The triplet shortly after also. The knight who was looking after the girl in misery also joined them, together with the girl who had firmed her resolve. I and Senri to follow once we had sorted out what he said, leaving only the two which beforehand were the ones to get us all here, so Senri asked, "Will you not join? I thought you were standing here because you wanted to have him as a teacher." But after seeing and hearing all of this, how can everyone else so easily just follow him? It is clear that he is not sane, and he barely is human. And are we really sure that this is safe? But he is human, and he is also so nice. Why is there a problem following him? There are many things I don't understand, but he is willing to teach us all. I never understood others, but I know that you are lying. I just don't understand why. Senri was bowing down and then picked up from the ground Saladala, who had somehow fallen out of Professor Turner's pocket and hidden himself under the podium, and carried him with her when she left. Only once everyone was left did the two finally decide to follow and run after the others, completing our merry group of 10 not-so-normal students and one not-so-abnormal teacher. It took another long lecture of the director before Trönev was allowed to finally start our first class. We could have used the time for some simple introduction, but this class of 10 was filled exclusively with strong personalities, so no one was simply sitting down peacefully while waiting, and that despite Lapis and Dorothea trying their best to get everyone together. Unlike the other classes, did we not go inside the main building and find our classroom there. Instead, Turner was walking right past it to the forest area behind the school building. So is this supposed to be some group connection shit, or are we just walking into the woods for no reason? It is not to my knowledge what thou are alluding to, but this is certainly the only way to get to the education rooms.
Education rooms?
Wait, what? Why are we the only ones having a class in the middle of the woods? Are we getting shitty treatment just because you are such a special case? It is certainly by no other means at mine own volition that we are there. It is certainly the only education room in this entire school fitting for such a thing as magic.
What do you mean the only one fit? This is the least progressive place to teach I can imagine.
But this is perfect to strengthen one's own body on a daily.
Look, brother, there's something weird over there.
Don't just call things weird because you don't know. Now that is something weird. What an unexpected visit this is. To see Black Death is close to an unimaginably loud group. This is a good omen of what is to come. Black Death? Brother, get away from it!
Hey, Sandri, what are you doing? I don't think it's a good idea to touch anything with the word death in its name.
If anyone is supposed
Perhaps
to
he
hear you,
wanted to give this to
Dorothea.
us, and he's too afraid to get out here seeing us all. Look, brother, that death thing gave the girl something.
You two stay a bit more online. This is something unknown, so we have to be careful even if others aren't. So you think you are extra cool because you can deal with these things, but you're probably just an idiot who is too dumb to die.
Please, can everyone
And
just
who are
calm
you
down?
to say
This
things
way
like
we're
that?
not going
A
to
real
get in
idiot
class
is someone
and
who
the
calls
teacher
others
will be
that.
angry.
Oh, and
You
from
know,
that
he
logic,
doesn't really
you would
look
then
angry
agree
to
that
me.
you two
More like
aren't
he's
idiots
enjoying
calling
his
me
chaos.
one. All it took was a single unknown animal for the entire group to completely disregard any rules you should follow. A good luck omen, how Turnov called it, but to me this was looking like a bad sign of what was to come. It was only logical to think so, that if a school class can't even get to the classroom, they wouldn't do much inside it. So then, why was this so exhilarating to me? Seeing how everyone was so obsessed with this one distraction. Was it the clear passion everyone showed? It was not like they were simply doing random things. To the untrained eye it may have looked like this. But in their insane movement they also all pursued their goals to understand, not afraid of the unknown. And behavior like this normally would be oppressed. It's not falling in line, not the standard. But this one class gathered right here and now around this strange animal, overseen by a monster of a man, was not normal, and so normal behavior became abnormal, and abnormal became the rule that we would start to follow from now on to the end of this very turbulent school life. Now that we stood there gathered around this animal, was it time for Turnov to do his job as teacher, so he taught. A present for thou, but will thou honor the contract thou should not take if this is an impossibility?
Contract?
An almost unanimous response, as almost everyone couldn't see that there was even a contract being laid out. Let me guess, a peace sign? Loud and boorish was the answer uttered, but the reasoning still missing. True it may be, but thou do not seem to know why. Do thou not? I do not need to know when I'm right. You can use a phone even if you don't know how to make one. That is simply flawed argumentation and a plainly wrong assumption. Speech is the contact between two people, an act of consensual understanding. Acting on nothing but a vague understanding of the other side results ultimately in nothing more than conflict. Understanding not why something means the thing it does, but also how the opposition got to the point is essential to achieving anything. Then the social justice warrior explained this. He timed that last this. To be on cue with Lapis grabbing both the knight and the boar and turning them with force towards Dorothea, an act only foreseen by the boar who didn't have his back turned towards Lapis when he approached with clear intention in his action. Before you continue what you are doing, how about a quick word from our sponsors? But now that Dorothea had all the attention she could ever want, was she not able to bring out a single word. The silence had an intense pressure exerted towards the middle of the circle the students were forming, directed towards an intimidated Dorothea. When she looked over to Lapis, he just shook with his hands, and showing that he wouldn't be of any help here. Such a pathetic display was not a good sign for anyone trying to get such a headstrong group to listen to you. So I just had to step out before this opportunity was lost. It is not easy to speak when you are put on a pedestal. I assure you I know that. I think you wanted us to do some group building exercise. I just wanted everyone to... Oh, so was it then? Maybe we should start with our names. You tried that one before, and it is always a good show of respect to state your name first. And who are you to command us around? She is related to the director, I know that much, but you are just some rando. So, let's go clockwise direction. We all already have gotten Professor Turner's introduction, so next in line would be you. The girl standing closest to Turner was the one who was cowering in fear from the quite harmless looking and acting to this point Black Death that had now joined Senri's side. It was hard to say how tall she really was due to her cowering position, but she seemed to be on the smaller side. She had short-cut black hair that despite its shortness achieved the look tousled, but the feature most standing out were her purple eyes piercing out of her face like they were spotlights. Once I pointed at her and the group was turning towards her, did she look around and seeking out for shelter in form of another person the attention could direct towards. Don't be shy, I think we all here are quite extraordinary people, so don't be afraid we could laugh at you. The first step is always to step over your own shadow, and once you have done that, will you see that the world is quite bright, even for those always looking down. Just let her be, she clearly isn't going to say anything. A scaredy cat like her can't even handle any group bigger than one, and that person then isn't even her. Average stature and clothes. It would be easy to think that this loud person was just some ruffian who didn't know his manners, but there was one feature that stood out. White hair at that age, and definitely not dyed but natural color instead. There was one family known for the white hair, supposedly as curse they had brought upon themselves, but in reality it was just a gene defect spread throughout the family, which only had one child that was in the right age, and that one would be Aþpan, eldest son of the Ago family, known for its extraordinary magical creature business. Would you please not interrupt other people when they are trying to speak? Having his name being used as unexpectedly made even someone like the headstrong Aþpan quiet, and you could see how uncomfortable he was now. Not because he was ashamed of who he was, but on how it got revealed. For someone whose entire life always was the one to force his will on others, having someone show him authority he only ever had seen from his own parents was just not something he knew how to process. Seeing someone like him being put down this convincingly made the girl realize that maybe the people here aren't so scary after all, and thus she spoke, with quite high-pitched voice that under other circumstances would have been drowned in the noise of other people, but just this one time did no one take the spotlight away from her.
I am Selena Freising, and my family is... they are just normal musicians, but I don't have any talent, so I thought that I may be able to do some magic research, where I could work quietly on my own.
The more she spoke, the clearer became her voice. When she realized that everyone listened to what she had to say without interrupting her, did finally come a smile to her face. Freising. I heard of them having a son who got into an argument with his parents and then just left into a different country, but I didn't know they also had a daughter. A stare from the night was shutting down Aþpan once more. Next to Selene was the troublesome trio of three brothers. The undoubtedly big brother being the first to realize that it is now for them to introduce themselves. Seeing him standing there made him look more like a parent overlooking the other two on their first day on school, that nothing would go wrong. And not only to them, but compared to everyone here outside of Professor Turner, who would be hard to gauge with his distorted looks, he looked older, and despite his body shape looking seemingly weak, did it feel like he had some immense power hidden inside his body. Despite those looks did he exude an aura of comfort around him, but he was for sure a force to be reckoned with. I am Tim.Ponsan and the older brother of these two chaos heads. Not much to say about me. I am just looking out for these two to not, die from idiocy. He was patting his younger brothers on their heads to their dismay, but it was not like they were capable of opposing him. The one to speak first was the most slender of the two. Not like that meant anything, as those two were both looking a lot younger than the rest of this group.
What kind of introduction is that supposed to be? And on top did you make us look like total fools? Yeah, just stay in the background like you always do if you can't say anything of worth.
Well, without me you two wouldn't be doing what you are currently doing unprompted. He was grabbing both at the head and turned their focus from him to the rest of the group. Humbled from realizing that this really was their big brother, did they obediently follow his command.
I'm Tom.Ponsan and here to become the best mage like no one ever was.
Tom did say this like it was his long prophesied destiny, which was in stark contrast to his childish manner. It would be by most not seen as benefiting from such a grandiose goal. That is a different person's slogan, you plagiarizer. Fueled with the fires of revolution, did Tom's brother not let these words unchallenged, ignoring the fly or whatever it was it buzzed into their introduction.
And I'm Temp Forest and I will make sure that this one will always just be second grade to me. Not fair! I went first and couldn't say something like that.
A confusion went through the rest of the group, as Tim had clearly stated them to be brothers. That is not the same family name. We have all the same mother, but mine and Tom's father, well, let's not talk about that one. The next in line was a knight, an appearance like you would hear royalty look back in the days. Not as exaggerated, but clearly special, was the black uniform she wore. It was almost like an attire you would expect from Royal Guard on days where they didn't wear armor. Also was her blonde hair cut short to prevent her falling to this detrimental weakness in battle. She was also fittingly standing in a stiff and straight way, waiting for Tim to stop to start her introduction. One shall not pry into other families' matters. Next them would be me, and I am and always will be Sonfei Ruknecht, the daughter of Sonhei Ruknecht, the leader of the Black Feathers. Her politician-like presented speech was promptly disrupted by the expected one, but this time not out of some need to mock this introduction with a witty comment but unadulterated aggression. No longer just standing at his place but walking towards her ready for a fight. So you are terrorists, that is what you are telling us.
Terrorist? My father is the most honorable person there is, who ate wood face against the injustice posed by those alchemists.
What you are talking about are state-approved scientists trying to further society's development.
It seems that I had you wrong. I thought something working this close with magical creatures would understand, but you are nothing more than a puppet doing what others tell you.
Silence, the both of you! Most of you probably don't even know what you are talking of. The two would know from this.
Alchemists and black feathers aren't really something that you read in a newspaper. And the daughter on top of that, father would flip out when he hears this.
It didn't take much to realize the general confusion that had set in motion once Sonfei and Aþpan started screaming at each other. You could clearly see how out of the 11 present here, 7 couldn't keep up, asking the others around him who were equally clueless to what these words were supposed to mean. Once the two realized that, did they quiet down, but that hateful aura was still lingering between the two, and the reason why they even stopped here in the first place, the Black Death, had vanished inside the woods where it came from. Even Professor Turner, who stayed quiet up until this moment, became nervous the second he heard the word Black Feather. But he probably stayed quiet to not accidentally say something we shouldn't know. This was supposed to be an opportunity to get the class environment better, but now look at this. I knew that I should have immediately changed the subject, but that would have doubtfully worked with the show these two made, and so the inevitable question came from Tom.
What is this even about? Yes, brother's right. What is Black Feather even supposed to be?
Tam tried to imagine what Black Feather could mean, but all he could come up with was ravens and crows, with storm chiming into his thoughts and painting pigeons black. It is nothing you need to know, just pretend you didn't hear that. It saves you a lot of trouble. And you, even your father knows not to just spew that name out like it's nothing. I could not let her say any more. The damage had been done already from how this name was introduced, but Zhonfei did not back down, which I already was expecting from the type of person she had shown to be. Father's wrong, everyone should know this, and who are you to always talk like this? Here, I'm going to say it. You are a nice person and all, but have you even put one brain cell into why both sides need to keep quiet about this? And I don't expect you two to get along, going from that display, but just keep quiet about this. My reasoning found a surprising receiver. I was expecting that Han Peng would not let this go, as the loud and headstrong person he is. Fine with me, when that terrorist keeps her distance from me. Ha! You are the one who started this. This entire time you are clearly out for a fight. We're already outside, so how about I put you in your place? It was now that Professor Turnev couldn't stay in the background anymore. Once his figure shadowed over the two, was it like all sound was absorbed by it. All the while did he turn towards me. I am in gratitude for what you are doing, Mr. My name is Aþpan. Yes, thank you. What Mr. Aþpan said was right. We shan't condole anyone for thy origin, but anyone shall still keep in mind how to present thy origin. Please mind that not all knowledge is apt to be spread. If thou art incapable of doing such tasks, it is my only option to send thou back home. But I did think that this endeavor to rear one's name is a fruitful decision, so please do continue. Han Peng now looked at my place as the one leading this introduction round. Halfway done, let's see if the other half has an equally as unfuzzable person. So you're Aþpan, just Aþpan, not family or anything. Born nowhere and having done nothing. I'm not a person who is special enough to be mentioned. I couldn't say anything about my family, and I have lived just in every person's life. Well, we'll be the judge of that. But you're trying to hide something. Fine, we already have a person who says too much, so why not someone saying too little? And you, what's your deal? You were curious close to that Black Death. That is not normal behavior for most magical creatures. He turned now all its energy towards Henry, who was not clear how to deal with his peer pressure. To begin with, I knew nothing about her. It was but a whim that made me decide to take her with me, and she didn't talk about herself at all on our way here. But unlike the others did I know this one thing already. Henry is not the type of person most people would ever encounter in their life, may it be in person or through media. But I'm just a normal person. All I did was to ask him if he would allow me to come near him, and he said yes. Han Peng raised an eyebrow on that statement, but for once did he not give some witty remark to it. But you surely have a name to share with us. Hey, you scumbag, what are you trying to pull here now? It was bound to come if any of those two would have gotten the chance to say another sentence, so I stepped in to return this back to the introductions. It would be rude to say other people's name before they can introduce themselves, so... Ah yes, but it's okay if it's my name. My words gave Zenri the hint to what she had to do right now, and from the look of it did she now look back at what the other said to figure out what was expected of her, as if she never had introduced herself before. I am Zenri, but I don't have a family. Zenri looked depressed when she said that, but at the same time that she said something like this made the entire group forget what happened just before this. Oh goodness, in that case it's quite rude of us to just parade with our heritage if you don't even know yours. You sound like a snob when you speak like that. One could almost forget. Just forget it. Doesn't feel right like this. Please, everyone, treating someone special like this is probably the worst that could happen. Lapis was trying to divide the others to give Zenri a bit of space. We still haven't introduced ourselves. I am Lapis and this is Dorothy. and I am the daughter of the director, so if you have any problems, just ask me. Not giving any chance of anyone to say something in response, did Professor Trönev come in applauding us. Great, great! With this I have concluded introductions, but our guests seeming to have left already. Let us continue to the education room. From there we shall first start our lesson, though no longer having the one at question with us. When he finished, he started pushing the ones in the back forward to get the group moving again. It was not much further for us to see the classroom building. An old manor still in top condition, despite its place and presumed age.
This isn't just a classroom, this is like a place where a rich guy would live.
The entire group could agree to Tom's statement. This was not the place anyone would think of when thinking about a school building. When this building was made, school was not considered something anyone should obtain, but with time still came to be of anyone's right. So a small building like this shan't suffice anymore. It was my very own self who restored it. For those of you who have not a room to stay, your rooms shall be inside, for I am the only one using this, but have no need of such grandness all to my own.
Awesome! We live in a villa!
I hope that you two know that this means not to break anything, or you will have to pay for it, and I don't want to know how expensive this would be. Tim gave his brothers a smack on the back, to keep them in line with their wild ideas or whatever they had planned. I could hardly sleep under the same roof as this thing. The thing Zonfei was talking about was equally opposed to this idea, but the rest of the group subconsciously already had decided to ignore them.
I already have somewhere to stay.
Ridiculous, we all are going to stay here. It would just be depressing when one isn't with a group. Tim was walking over to Selene, trying to use his experience as older brother to get her to stay.
It was already all settled by my family.
Then say you don't want to. You gotta at some point start acting on your own will. Your family won't always be there to order you around.
Leave that to me. I will ask Mother about this. I'm sure she can convince them. I too wouldn't be able to stand if one person is separated.
By the way, if we live here, where do we eat? It's hardly gonna be delivered to here just for us 10.
Oh, the cantina is...
It is true that there's a cantina, but that is not befitting for those who are learning magic. This place has all one needs for survival. Thus ye shall make thy own food. What, you mean we're gonna hunt down animals and gather berries like some caveman? Professor Trönev, instead of answering, was simply entering the villa. What at first looked as if he just ignored the question became quickly clear to be his answer, as once they entered were they able to see the farm on the backside of the villa, through a window, but that was not for all the center of attention. Two brothers chased down by the older brother in the attempt to keep them contained and civilized. A shy girl hiding in a chamber filled with books. A knight and boar arguing about where they should sleep. A calm and perceptive boy eyeing their new stay, and his cousin trying once more to gather this class, a strange girl trying to find an exit to the back of the building, and me trying to grasp the interior of the strange building. Not one considered that this was still considered to be our first class of the day.